wanted this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra. Fuck with me, you know that I got it. Come with me, let's take a trip to the islands. We up on the jet, we'll do more than just fly on it. Stand on that hill, you gon' die on it. Boom. Baby, I'm not one of them, you should try on it. Miss me with all that, I'm on it and next. Fuck this up, I send you back to your ex. But good luck with that, this is big as it gets. Hey, let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. Give them a name to remember. Hey, let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. A moment can live on forever. Yeah. Oh shit, they don't let me shoot a whole clip. Firepower in this coalition. We just turned the field into a demolition. It was desolate.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to the eCarrierCheck show. A little Lego mania there for us. I am excited. We are midweek, and we have got an incredible guest on. Honestly, I got to say, I've looked back at all the shows over the last 6 months, and Jeff just brings so much value to this industry, and I don't think he shares his voice enough. Honestly, Jeff, welcome to the party, man. It's Wednesday. How are you today, man?
I am doing great, my friends, and thanks again for having me back on, man. I enjoy your show. I watch it. A lot of good things you guys are doing.
I appreciate that. Jeff. Appreciate that. You know, Jeff, obviously, the homies, what's up, Rob? What's going on?
What up,
it's good to see you.
Roberto, what's happening?
Logistics Lounge, shout out.
Jeff, you got to give us a rundown. I mean, you have the most incredible mustache I think I've ever seen. How long is that taking you to get to that level?
I just started growing it last week, so not much time. No, seriously. No, you know, I shaved it off probably about 3 months ago, and I just need to grow it a little bit more. You know, I mean, it's a little out of hand right now, to be perfectly honest with you, but it takes a lot of time. It's not easy to grow one like this and make it look good every single day. That's for sure. But you know, I did trademark it. That's a whole different story for the Bodacious Cowboy. That right now it's out there and it's for people to view, to make sure that I didn't, take somebody else's thunder. You have to do that for about 4 or 5 weeks, and then once that gets past that checklist, then it's all mine. So I can't do any swag. I can't do anything like that, but that's what it's all built on. I mean, I've got, I don't know if I showed you this, but I mean, this is like,
awesome. Gosh, look at that. Are you kidding me?
It's funny, but you know what? It's just a brand, you know, it's just a fun side of me, but you know, on the other side, I'm pretty serious about what I do and why I've done it for so many years, because I love the industry. And no, the industry really doesn't love you back, but it's how you deal with it on a daily basis and how you control the controllables to move yourself over time. And, you know, being in the business for 40 years, was it tough? Hell yeah. It's not an easy track, and it's not really meant for a lot of people to get involved with, because there's just so many moving pieces to the logistics industry.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you have fun with it. You know what I mean? And you're right. It's a stressful industry. You know, we talk to people, you know, that could probably just retire today, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to get into freight brokering or, you know, dispatching or jumping back in the truck. And, you know, a month later, they're like, yeah, I'm going to go back to retirement. It's like, it's rough.
I don't think I'll ever retire, because I love what I do. It's not a job to me. It's more of an adventure where I get to go on safari and hunt every single day. It's not boring to me, you know, and having those years of experience and dabbling in many different verticals and niches over that time, I'm at the point where I'd love to share. And again, it's only an opinion. It's only a suggestion, what I give out there. Whether or not you want to take it and run with it, that's up to you. The only thing that I'm trying to do, and my other friends too have been in this business, is to stop things from happening again. You know, the old adage of, you know, if you're not careful, history will repeat itself. Yep. Yes, the tools have got a hell of a lot better, but with that comes issues. It's when we didn't have them to where we have them now. there's just so many different things that can go wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
That's interesting you say that. Jeff, you've been in the industry for how long?
44 years.
44 years. And I am a big believer that history just kind of comes back around. Obviously tech is tech, and not everyone's cruising down the road in a long-nosed Pete. But what have you seen that hasn't changed? I think this is where you are probably the most interesting. This is why I love you as a guest, because honestly, there are things that haven't changed in this industry, and I know you're going to hit on it really quickly.
Yeah, and we'll get into it a little later. We still have a huge issue between the relationships between brokers and carriers. It's been something that's been going on for decades. It's not something that just grew out of the earth overnight. This is manifesting itself for a long time. And my very good friend, Dan Lindsay, who actually quit his job to do the Broker Carriers Summit full time because he believes in it as much as I do. It's something that's a necessity in our industry right now, so we can just stop the bullshit that's happening out there.
Yeah. For me, and I think this is what really hasn't changed, in my opinion, and I think this was with almost any industry, but really our industry kind of hits it on the head. I haven't graced this industry for 44 years. Did you say 44 years?
Yeah. 44. Yeah. I started right before deregulation. Imagine that.
That is incredible. I've hit the 15-year mark. I definitely don't know it all, but boy, I tell you what, the best things that have happened to me in this industry, although it is a kind of a one-sided and the trucking industry doesn't give any love back, is the relationships I've built. Yeah. I love the carriers that we've met. I love the brokers we've met. I love the shippers we've met. That's my favorite part of this industry, is that it's a deeper connection, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I kind of kid around, but when you look in the dictionary and you look up the word collaboration, my picture is under that definition. And I say that kiddingly because I have been collaborating with carriers and all key shareholders, that is, over 44 years. I know how to collaborate. And when I hear people using that word more often, there's two things that come to mind. I'm grateful that they are doing it, and it's a shame at the same time, because this should have been attacked a long, long time ago. And just imagine if we were more collaborative instead of looking what's best for us and rather look at what's best for all. Imagine where we would be today if we had that mindset of yesterday, a decade ago, 2 decades ago. So we're moving in the right area, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. And that's an understatement. I mean, there's huge room for improvements out there.
Right.
Yeah, the relationship bar is very drastic in this industry. There's wildly bad relationships, and what you're talking about here, and then there's really good ones. There doesn't seem to be a happy medium with it, and I love that Dan Lindsay is going after that and trying to at least bring in something that at least finds a balance.
Right. And when I hear the word collaborative or just collaborating, first thing that comes to mind is relationships. Yeah. Right. So I'm a big fan of that summit. Yeah. And I think everyone should go do that and shake some hands with some carriers, brokers, and start growing.
That's what it's all about. What's really unique, and I know we want to talk about that last, but since you brought it up, what's great about this, and what's more innovative than anything else, is that the Broker Carrier Summit isn't your normal event like a Manifest or a Accelerate or a TMSA event or anything like that. It's much different. It's unlike any event that you did. You don't have any booths. You don't have people selling stuff. What they sell? Options, solutions. They share their knowledge. They get to know what's working, what's not working. It's carriers and brokers coming together to get a better understanding of how each operates and how they can work better by collaborating with each other and building these, these real relationships out there. To your point, Nate, your relationships are everything. It's unfortunate. I can tell you right now, you won't have any bad guys going to the broker carrier summit. You won't have these unethical brokers and carriers coming to the summit. If they do, God help us all, because, I don't think they'll walk out of there alive. But, because the thing is that it's those bad guys out there that give the really good guys a bad name, that they always have to go on defense, to defend themselves, because somehow they link it with a company or someone because they did something unethical. You have that name brand, you have the marketing, you have all that stuff, and that gets tagged to your back, which isn't true. You've got to identify. It's just like we vet carriers, prospects and clients should vet their service providers just the way we vet carriers, so they know who they're dealing with. It's very, very important. And it is the key to success. And that's what Dan and his whole crew are working so hard at this, to make this happen. And will it? Yes, I believe it. I back them up a gazillion %. I'm going to go to every single one of them, to help them move this narrative, because it's a grassroots movement and it's something that needs to be done. Period. End of discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I obviously we're on the subject. The next one is when and where, just for the sake of the audience here.
Yeah. It's coming up real soon. It's going to be in Fort Worth, Texas. Okay. October 23rd through the 25th. It's a great, it's a big agenda, I should say. Plenty of topics that will blow your mind. There are some key speakers on panels. There's individual learning labs that are broken out throughout the whole day. Like I said, the engagement is off the handle. I keep on saying this every podcast that I've been on. No, it's not a bro show. Okay. Yeah. It's not. There's plenty of women that come to the Broker Carrier Summit. I know a plethora of them. They're talking, they're collaborating with their peers. They're getting them to go as well. We're probably going to be over 500, maybe even 600, even greater than that, people that will show up there. The first one that they had was in Indy at 75 people that were in attendance. Then they went to Tampa. It grew exponentially. Went to Kansas City. It grew again, like over 300, 350, 360. And now you're going to see a huge increase again in Fort Worth. We'll do it every 6 months in different areas throughout the whole country, because we realize that not everybody can make it to that region for some reason or another. So Dan is actually bringing the event to people to get them all involved throughout the country.
I love that.
Yeah. And, by the way, I see more and more women getting into this industry, and they're thriving. It's great to see.
Big fan.
And do you speak on any of those panels, Jeff, or you guest speakers?
I hope this year that I will. I mean, we are talking about that, but I will be presenting at my own learning lab this year, as I did last year. But I am a huge advocate for empowering women into logistics. As you know, I have my own podcast called Storytelling Chronicles, Empowering Women into Logistics. We have a lot of great sponsors, TAFs, Freight Validate, and TIE Software. All of that sponsorship does not go to Christy Knitchell and myself. We're donating it to a special cause. We haven't figured out which cause it is, but every month when we get those checks for sponsorships, we are not keeping them. We want to do something for an individual or corporation, whether it's training, get more education to help them progress, to level up, to get promoted, whatever it takes. It's time to do that as well, my friends.
That's awesome, Jeff. You're moving different, man, and I appreciate that. Good for you.
I always had there's a programmer that I know that said something that kind of sticks out to me. And he says, when everyone's zigging, you should be zagging.
Mm.
And I think, Jeff, this is kind of, in my mind, every time I talk to you, and honestly, for those of you who are watching, get a pen and paper out because this is where the class starts, is you zig instead of zag. You're the guy that doesn't go against the grain. And I love what you're doing. In fact, I'll be honest with you, if you haven't stood outside by yourself, you've always been with the crowd, right?
Well, it's not that. Yeah, Jared, you know what? To answer your question, honestly, I'm a person that creates my own path. I am not a follower. I do not go down the path mostly traveled. I will create my own path. I will take the biggest sickle known to mankind, and I will go down that path, and I will pave that road for myself, and I will find the platinum in there. The hell with gold. Platinum is more expensive than gold. So because that's where the knowledge comes from. When you dabble, you zig, you zag, you take a little bit from here, you take a little bit from there. Otherwise, the way that I see it, and I have seen it over my time, is that if you keep on being a follower and going down that path, you find yourself getting pigeonholed in a specific vertical, a specific niche, which is good for some people. But I prefer to learn a hell of a lot about a hell of a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that is to zig, to zag, to, from cradle to grave throughout the whole supply chain. I am not an expert in any one thing because I didn't want to be. I wanted to be highly knowledgeable about certain things that come up. So if a conversation comes up within the supply chain, I can go back to you and know the answer or some of the answers. And I'm that type of person that will say to those people, you know what? I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm not going to bullshit them, but this is what I'll do for you. I have a lot of connections, and I'll go find that SME, that's a subject matter expert, and I'll have them reach out to you. Mm-hmm. That's the way I did my whole career for 44 years. Mm-hmm. So am I knowledgeable? Yeah. Do I call myself an expert? No. And I don't believe in an expert status, because if you're an expert, there's no need to learn anymore. You're done, right? Because that's what an expert is. They don't have to learn anymore. In this industry, if you're not learning every single day, you're going to get lost in the shuffle rather quickly, because the industry and the innovation and the technology and everything that's coming into play right now is moving at the light of speed. If you're not on top of it or ahead of the curve before it happens, and if you're not looking at the what if scenarios now, you're finished. You are done. Get perspectives from many different solutions that are out there. Don't just say, this is it, because there's so many highly educated people out there that are innovative. They have the technology. I have a lot of friends in there. I'm not saying that they're wrong, but they have their own perspective. Gather those perspectives and then make the decision on yourself based upon what fits your needs and whether or not it's good for you and your company, whether you're an individual working as an agent, or if you're a broker and you're the president or CEO, CFO running it. Take notes, drop this stuff down, and try to envision what are you going to look like 5 and 10 years from now, and will that innovation and that technology change? Yes. How much do I want to invest? I mean, there's so much things to look at in this industry that you have to take into consideration.
That's right.
Yeah, Jeff, I something before we turned on the camera that I thought was really interesting, and I think this is really important. There's a lot of freight brokers that are very transactional. They're just quoting everything. If they're the cheapest guy, they get the freight, and there's nothing wrong with that world. There's, that world is there, and there's some ups and downs to it, right? But I thought this was interesting because a lot of the issues that come from brokering all end up being, you can almost narrow it down to communication. Right. Yes. It was a lack of communication, or maybe the questions weren't asked in order to get to there. And I think this is probably one of the best things I love that what you said is that I take my clients through a process when I get them set up. Can you talk about this? Because I think this is something that every single broker, if you want to add value to your clients today, I don't care if they've been your clients 5 years, 3 years, or 6 months, call them and say, let's set up this. Because Jeff, what you're going to talk about right here, I think is more important in just stepping up the value and the quality of the brokers that are out there right now. Like, how do I add my next notch up? This is it right here.
Not talked about enough.
Yeah. Jeff, talk about what you do with your clients when you get them set up.
Well, since and thanks for that. Well, since I was a shipper for over 37 years, working in complex logistics operations, I run my business as a shipper. I know what that shipper is going to ask or think, because they have just as much pressure as a broker does to fill their pipeline. The shipper has that pressure to reduce cost and make as much profit, because you figure all the logistics operations, the SG&A cost and everything that surrounds the logistics operation goes into cost of goods sold, right? So the less cost there is, the more profit they make. Just like we as brokers or service providers, we're pretty much in that same lane. So the thing is when you talk to clients, at least the way that I work, I'm not in a rush to get them on board. There's a ramp up phase. There's steps to that. There's an understanding, because I can't ship what I don't know. I know a lot, but they may work differently. So you need to ask those questions. And what I have is a facility profile, and I'm looking at it right now. I wish I printed it up, but it has 60 points that need to be checked off. That information, that's for every single facility. Now, you might have a big company out there that has many hubs throughout the country. Each hub works independently, or maybe they have a work instruction where they've created best practices and they mirror it across, geography or sections or whatever you want throughout the country. So this facility profile that I created, the clients fill it out, and I'm totally transparent. So, and it comes into safety tips as well. We'll get into that as well, because it's all intertwined in it. So it talks about the requirements and expectations of when you come on board, especially if you're landing a 10 million, 20, 30, $50 million opportunity. You need to know how everything works and the mechanisms. So, it has the contacts. I'm going to read it off because there's just so many damn things. The primary general areas, or the general information, the facility level information, the equipment requirements, the driver requirements, other requirements, current issues and concerns that I may not know about. And it digs into that. Who are the contacts in case something goes wrong? What are the hours of operation? All those different kinds of things. What kind of equipment do you need? Do you need a lift gate? Do you need a 53? Do you need a logistics trailer? Do you need lock bars or load bars? Do they have to be chalked? Do they need to be blocked? How does your receiving work? Is it set sales schedule? Is it this? Is it that? And then that comes in to the safety requirements, where pre-check inspections are a necessity, because what you're doing is that you're protecting your brand and as a service provider, as well as your customer's brand, marketing, image, etc. Because God forbid, if you don't do a pre-check inspection on your equipment as a service provider, and you go out there and you blow a tire and take out a family of 4, the question that needs to be answered is, do you want that burden on your shoulders and put that on your shipper's shoulders, right? You want to protect them as much as you want to protect yourself. So those are the type of requirements and expectations, especially if it's a big operation where you have yard management and you're hooking and dropping trailers all day long. One of the biggest things when I was running a $100 million operation was that when the carriers came in, they had to unlock their trailer, put chocks and blocks in the back of their tires, lock out their airline brakes, and put a big cone in the front of their trailer. And that represented that the trailer was being worked. There's a forklift driver going in and out. There's guys going in and out. They're loading. If that cone is up, then that means it's a working trailer in progress. If that cone is done, that means that the trailer is ready to be picked up, and taken away, whether it's a yard horse or if it's the carrier coming in to pull it. Right. But you need to do all this kind of stuff. It's the ramp up part, which is the most important part of the operation. Not, hey, I got a client, let's move his freight and make some money. No, it doesn't work that way. Educate the shipper, the prospect, and tell them why this is so important and what you're trying to do. It's the big differentiator for most, because a lot of them don't even breach that subject. They don't. Oh, yeah. The guy, let's move it, blah, blah, blah. I do things differently. Yeah,
you do. And honestly, Jared's been saying this for years. You're only as good as the questions you ask. Yeah. And like you said, so much deeper than, oh, I got a customer and I'm ready to move some freight. Like, you got to make yourself different. And I think the way you did it, Jeff, is everyone watching, you should take those tips and run with it. Honestly, like, you have no idea how much tips he just gave out right now. That was great stuff.
It's huge.
It's not for everybody, guys. Remember, this is an option. It's an alternative. It may not work. There's a lot of guys out there prefer to just bust their ass and go after the spot market and grab everything that they can, make big, profits, etc. They don't really think about the risk. There's plenty of risk. There's that lack of control. There's the opportunity for theft, double brokering, fraud. You got to take a look at that. I minimize my risks because I've been a shipper. I know what can happen. Over 44 years being in the industry, I never had anything lifted. I never had a double broker. I never had any fraud. And I didn't have the tools back then, guys. I didn't have the tools. So how the hell did I do that? You got to dig in. Now you've got all the tools in the world by a plethora of people that are innovative, that are putting these things out, and we're still having trouble. Answer that why, and they'll come back and say, well, the carriers and these dispatchers and everything, they're getting smart. They're getting, the technology to do that and everything. Well, you're not fending them off, and then a lot of them out there. And again, I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but a lot of the posts that are out there are drawing up a roadmap for these bad guys, telling them how to circumvent and find the loopholes in order to beat it. Don't do that kind of crap. I'm sorry if I hurt somebody's feelings. I'm here to protect the industry and make it better than what it is. I'm not here, to rake people over the coals and saying you're doing a bad thing. It's just that you have to be a little bit more collaborative. And I said this, and I have no idea why they wouldn't do this. All the people out there that are fighting fraud and double brokering and theft. Why don't you guys are smart. Why don't you guys brainstorm and create a round table and go there? If it's your intentions to stop these fucking bad guys, what better opportunity would there be if you guys would just get on a round table and start really smacking this stuff and come up with a huge solution? Everybody talks about this, and I've got a very good friend that's in the industry. I think it's a great idea to do that, but the thing in the back of the head is I want to protect my, what I created. I want people to get what I created, did this and do that. Hey, you want to stop? Talk to your competitors, That's how this industry moves forward. I have friends that are shippers that I don't do business with because it's not my niche. I don't want to do that. Will I tag them? Will I tag a competitor and ask them, hey, what do you think of this? Sure. It's $1 trillion business, for God's sake. There's a tremendous amount of opportunities for everybody out there. Stop shuttering yourself, and protecting every freaking thing. You're not going to lose it. You'll do fine.
Yeah, we definitely all have to. I mean, there's competition, but we've got to walk hand in hand, And I think that's really important, especially now that fraud is, well over $1 billion in issues, and you know what I mean. And it's like, okay, we got to do something at this point. I think the couple key takeaways there for me was I think if you're not asking these questions, even if you're a carrier or a broker, it doesn't matter. You've got to have a checklist of questions to ask your shippers. I recommend also doing. It's interesting. We talk to a lot of brokers, and I think it's always interesting. Well, how much is that worth? What are you hauling? Do you know how much it's worth? A lot of people don't ask that question. I think that's a really interesting question to ask. And then, honestly, here's an interesting one. We got Carrier of the Year one year. When I worked at Nebraska Transport, incredible company, family-run company. The Blue and Gold was a legit company. A lot of fun to work there. We got Carrier of the Year one year because our billing was better than anyone else. It had nothing to do with us driving a truck down the road. It had nothing to do with us picking it up on time and delivering on time, which, by the way, we were at 99.8%.
There you go.
But they were all about how did you bill and how did you handle claims when they came up. And that was why we won. And it was like, I'm like, man, there's so much more than just a quick transaction. Hey, this is $1,200, $1,000, and we made $200 and we're moving on. And there's so much more. And the questions you're asking, Jeff, I friggin' love those, man. You're just woo. I love that.
Another thing too. You just brought this up, Jarrett. Was how many brokers out there give awards to their carriers for Carrier of the Year? I mean, that's part of communication and building relationships and how much they mean to you. When you talk about success, a lot of people talk about the internal operations, who you hire, what they've done, etc. But listen, folks, you can't reach success until your women drivers and your male drivers that are out there deliver your goods. You can't be successful without them. So, right? I mean, seriously. And then how many posts out there do you read about women truck drivers and just truck drivers in general, and thanking them and saying, hey, I appreciate what you did, and, just putting it out there. I mean, I met a driver yesterday, I believe it was, and I bought him some coffee. We never met before. He doesn't work for me. Just do something, an act of kindness, share something. You never know what will bloom from it. But, I mean, I used to go to not truck terminals, but truck stops. I did this last year, and I bought $500 worth of gift cards. And I sat there, and every truck driver that came in, male, woman, I gave them a $5 or a $10 gift card. So get yourself, coffee, or go buy yourself a sandwich, or do something like that. Give back, guys. That's what you have to do. Take care of the people that take care of you.
Yeah. And I think if you can't give back, you should maybe go to the truck stop and shake their hands, learn about them, what they do, how they do it.
Yeah.
And you just never know what those carriers know. Maybe you have something you guys can collaborate on, right? So I love that. That's awesome.
I do too. I think something that one of my mentors said to me that's really stuck with me, and I've always been a fan of just, you don't even have to give out a trophy or an award. Write a friggin' handwritten letter and tell them thank you.
Sure.
And sharing gratitude daily, I think, is huge. I think that's something that's changed my life. I write down every day, 3 things that I'm grateful for, and the people and why they're in my life. And I'm totally with you, Jeff. I love that you do that. It's just different. Not a lot of people are doing that. A lot of people are more transactional, and it
almost seems like we're too greedy some days.
Yeah.
That's just it. And, that's all part of collaboration and making the industry better than what it is. Because when these drivers out there, men and women, when you show appreciation for them and say thank you, you wouldn't believe how far that goes with them. It really does. I don't have a whole hell of a lot of stress, being that I worked in the industry for a long time, because I look at it this way. When it comes to service providers, whether brokers or assets or carriers, I give them equal opportunity to fire themselves. And what I mean by that is that as a shipper, I would give them my expectations. And I would say, are we clear? Do you understand what I'm looking for? You know, and I'd say it in a smile, and I'm not trying to be derogatory or anything like that or condescending. This is part of the requirement in order for you to do business with me. Well, if you were a shipper and you understood that and you conducted that yourself as such when you're doing business with your customers, I think you would be better off, because if you use that as an example, you would do everything possible in order to meet or exceed their expectations, and that communication link would be wide open. That shuttlecock would be wide open, flowing with information all the time. And when that fails, that's when you lose customers. You know, and it's like, hey, you didn't do this. I'm gonna have to let you go. Well, you know, I could have done. Hey, you know the expectations. You did this, you did that, but you failed to meet them. Whose fault is that? It's not mine, right? So it's like, why would I have stress on it?
Right.
I agree. You know, accountability is such an interesting topic to talk about when it comes to relationships and those things like that. And so I love that you bring that up, because you have to hold people accountable and what they do and why they say they do. And, you know, Cheap Freight Hauler says, hard to find that in this me society we live in. It is. It really is tough to find accountability and those, you know, aspects of life to really, you know, take it for what it is. You know, Jeff, I asked you this last time before we ended the show, and I would love for you to answer it again, just to hear your new perspective or your perspective in life here. You know, we still see, and I love that, by the way, that we still see new brokers, new carriers coming into this industry. They're coming into an industry that's, I think there's more opportunity than maybe what is being broadcasted in our news media. But, you know, what do you give us some advice on those people that are just coming into this industry, that are just getting going? You know, what could they do today as a carrier, as a broker to you know, be successful, be here in 6 months? You know, what's something that you would recommend? Adam, what's up? I love this guy, by the way.
First and foremost, and I put that as priority one, training. What type of training do you have on site that will help your new onboards be successful? You know, it's a lack of training in a lot of cases where they haven't defined how they are going to train each individual. And that comes with cross training as well, and learning all the ins and outs. Another thing that I would recommend highly is that when new people come on board, that if you had a relationship with a warehouse or a DC, if you could have one of your brokers or let's say all of your brokers, go on site, go visit a warehouse, go see how a DC operates, get firsthand perspective of what you're working with. You know, the more knowledge that you have and the ups and downs and problems that logistics managers, supply chain managers face on a daily basis, you're not going to learn it in one day. You know, I'll tell you that right now. But just to get a little bit of knowledge, so when you talk to these prospects, you kind of understand the mechanisms of logistics and how they turn and burn throughout the whole day, whether it's on the inbound side or the outbound side, whatever you're doing, I think would be highly beneficial. And it's easy for me to say because I came from that side and I understand that. So the transition from a shipper into a broker, logistics service provider is easy because I understand that. But the other side, if you came in on the broker side, never seen a shipper facility, that's tough. It's a tough market out there, and it's not going to change. I do not believe it's going to change this year, and probably maybe in the first quarter of 2025. I mean, there's no real indicators out there that are happening. So, you know, the success rate is going to be tough. I mean, I'm just being honest. It's not going to be like you're going to go in there and draw some serious commissions overnight. It's not going to happen. I mean, for myself, and I think I told you this, but in 2019, the first year I was in business, I made $9,000. $9,000. I'm not a sales guy. I'm a closer, damn good closer, but I'm not a sales guy. I'm a logistics guy. I'm a supply chain guy. I know that side of the business like there's no tomorrow. And what I failed to do when I got into this side of the business, I didn't adapt that knowledge, even though I had it, because I thought it was a different way. And once I started turning those wheels and digging in and everything, things became a little bit more easier. But it's tough out there, guys. It's tough when you're coming on board. They'll eat you up and spit you out, and because they know they'll just and then they'll make you sign a non-solicit, non-compete. It's all crap. It's just seriously, it really is. I'm laughing because it's sad. It really is.
Yeah. Chief Freight Hauler, you're right. For a new carrier, he suggests be cautious of what you hear from most YouTube channels. Find someone with many years in the business like DIY and watch how they do it. Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's some really good people there out on YouTube and podcasts like Jeff and eCarrierCheck. There's people out there that really have your best interest. And but yeah, take a look. Take the time to watch the 45-minute video.
Oh, yeah.
I know we're all in TikTok mode and want to swipe and swipe.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you what. When you interview to get a job as a broker, this is your time to shine. Ask the questions. Okay, Mr. Broker, if I come on board, tell me a little bit about your training. What can I expect? Do you have a mentor? Do you have a coach? I'm sure you have a disciplinarian because everybody's out there to bust your chops and why you're not making calls and everything. We know that. But for me, enabling me to be successful, how do you go about that? How can you ensure me that when I come in day one, that there's going to be some type of orientation? Am I going to have a mentor that's going to be with me for the next couple of weeks, maybe listen to me how I'm making those phone calls, giving me constructive criticisms on how I could perform at a higher rate, where am I slacking? What should I say? What shouldn't I say? And keep that ongoing. Keep that ongoing, because if you're a business out there and you're running a brokerage, I think your high priority would be in your people. Take care of the people. They're the ones that are driving your revenue. You want them to be successful. Put together a damn good training program that will increase your percentage, and I don't know what it is because they're all different across the board, but get to a higher percentile where your people are performing at a huge level. And that only comes with, the right training program, and they lack that. I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. It's a shame. And that's what drives unethical business, and a lot of these kids that are out there, and it's a shame. I get it. They're under pressure. They have bills to pay. They've just bought a new car. They maybe have rent. They may be saying stuff to the prospect that's total bullshit because they're trying to get them to come on board and make some money. They're desperate, And with that kind of mentality, you come across as such a desperate seller. You got to get that out of your head. Smile. You have to do a lot of different things, but that's what hurts a lot of them out there. Problems, a lot of pressure, and a lack of training.
Yeah, Chief Freight Hauler, he's closing all the deals with that stash, but honestly, it's more than just that. He's doing things different. Jeff zagging, man. He's doing it all. He's doing all the right things.
Yeah, I closed a lot of deals when I never had this mustache. Let's put it that way.
I love it.
Many years ago, some of my biggest closing opportunities came on a golf course. And back in that day, we didn't have contracts that they had today. We had a thing called a handshake, and that handshake was as gold as your signature, John Hancock, on a contract. And we lived by that rule. And I have a lot of friends that are still in the industry, like me. Bill Robinson is one of them, who would agree. Some of the biggest deals that we ever had came from a handshake.
I love that, Joe. That's awesome.
I do too.
Pedro, such a pest. I love
it. I know you mentioned it a couple times throughout the show, but how do people hear your voice? How do people get in touch with you? Where's a good platform that we can connect with you?
you can send me a DM on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on many different podcasts as well, like the Logistics Lounge. Occasionally I'll co-host that with my good friend Pedro there. I'm on here. I have my own podcast, the Storytelling Chronicles, Empowering Women into Logistics. I got a new podcast coming out that's going to be kick-ass with my good friend John Brewer. More to follow on that we're going to launch soon. It's going to be knowledge base. We'll talk about a lot of different things on that. So check us out on that and just follow. Another good thing for you to do too is go on the Broker Carrier Summit link, look them up, register, check it out, connect with the people on there. You're going to learn a tremendous amount of stuff from that event, and I highly recommend that you go. It'll be well worth the money spent. I can tell you that right now.
I love that.
I love it, Jeff. I really appreciate you, man. Everyone watching today, make sure to like this video if you learned something today. Make sure to subscribe. You just never know when we're going to go live either, or what guests we'll have on that'll just bring the house. So never miss out. Make sure you hit the bell and subscribe. Jared, anything else, man?
Jeff, thank you for being on. Go check out the Carrier Broker Summit. The incredible team that you've put together there. The board is incredible. Everybody's good there. But we really appreciate it, Jeff. You really brought a lot of value today to the people. So
thanks for having me. I mean, I'd love to do it again. It's always good to go on your show and talk smack. You got a good show, guys.